wabarakatuh and Juma Mubarak. We were thinking of waiting for students to come from Gomba because the bus usually comes and they always get delayed. So we cannot afford to wait because Friday, so Juma Mubarak to all of you. And we have to begin somehow now. So Alhamdulillah, we have a series of the lectures on Islamization of human knowledge. We have conducted lecture before and we will continue inshallah few lectures in the future. We are very lucky today that Alhamdulillah we have Dr. Ugi Suharto, and it was really, I would say, the blessing in disguise that he is visiting to Malaysia and we managed to get him here. Thank you very much for your arrival, Dr. Ugi. Otherwise, the lecture may be delivered from Indonesia. Okay, so thank you for your time, and Alhamdulillah, we are having today the opportunity to meet. So for those who actually virtually, I think there are many online than face-to-face. So for those who do not know Dr. Ugi and maybe our students who are younger than, he is actually former ISTAC graduate as well. So this is my great pleasure this morning to introduce to our former colleague and beloved friend, Dr. Ugi Suharto, who is currently a Director, Center of Excellence in Islamic Finance for Sustainable Development Goals. MashaAllah, Dr. Zuljasri will be very happy. SDG and sustainability. This is a center in the Faculty of Economics and Business, Indonesian International Islamic University. And at the same time, he is an adjunct professor at Raja Zarid, Sofia, Center for Advanced Studies on Islam, Science and Civilization. I don't know whether we call it chassis or cassis. Basically, it's a cassis, but if you go for Malay spelling, then it will be. He happened to be, Alhamdulillah, very dedicated academician, and he has served in international universities in Malaysia, Bahrain, United Kingdom, Oman. And after he left us, when he was part of our team, academic team in the Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, we are meeting actually today after 15, 16 years. So, and he actually, Dr. Ugi, is alumnus of ISTAC. In year 2000, Dr. Ugi Suharto received his PhD, Islamic Civilization, majoring in Islamic economics from the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, as I mentioned earlier. In fact, he obtained his Bachelor of Economics in 1990, followed by Master of Economics in 1993 from none other than IIIUM itself. He was an academic staff in Malaysia for 12 years, first as a research fellow and assistant professor at the Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization from 96 to 2003, and then as an assistant professor at Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, IIIUM, from 2003 to 2008. After being quite some times in Malaysia, he taught at the University College of Bahrain as an associate professor for 2 years and at the Center of Academic and Executive Training, Bahrain Institute of Banking and Finance, which is very old, very established institute there actually, for additional 2 years. And later at the Ahliya University, Bahrain, for almost another 4 years. In between, Dr. Ugi was also with the Mark Field Institute of Higher Education, United Kingdom from 2010 to 2011. He just retired from 2022 as an associate professor in the University of Buraimi, Sultanate of Oman. Actually, he's not retired, I would say. He's still active. Dr. Ugi has published many articles in international journals and few books related to his field. His books include Islamic Public Finance, Kitab al-Amwal, Abu Ubai's Concept of Public Finance. It was published by the ISTAC in 2005. Pemikiran Islam Libero, Pembahasan Isu-Isu Sentral Shah Alam. This was published by Dewan Pustaka Fajar. Nafi, Isbat, dan Kalam. I think this is very relevant perhaps. For today, it was by Isra, textbook, Islamic economist. He contributed a chapter there. Okay, so I think it will take pretty long time to keep on reading the printout here, and we will be deprived of listening the speaker. So thank you very much. I think I would like to welcome our guest speaker today, Dr. Ugi Suharto, and we will listen him, well, maybe 45 minutes to 1 hour, and then we should have Q&A session. So with that, the floor is yours, Dr. Ugi, and I welcome our colleagues. Prof. Aslam is here, Prof. Ruslan is here, and our friends and some students. Hopefully others will be joining, but we see quite good crowd online. Thank you. Please proceed.
Is it it's already in the YouTube? Okay. Okay. No, it doesn't move. It doesn't move. Can you check again whether it is functioning or not? Just check again. You can get it off first and then.
Okay, the technical glitches is coming, inshallah.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma iftah lana hikmataka wa anshur 'alaina rahmataka min khazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma nawwir qulubana binuri hidayatika kama nawartal arda binuri syamsika abadan abada birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. First of all, I would like to really thankful to Professor Khalid Ahmad for inviting me, okay, to this prestigious place, actually, yeah, to me, yeah, in front of our colleagues here, yeah, to share some insights, yeah, on the issue of Islamization of knowledge, yeah, from Professor al-Attas perspective. Yeah, Professor Khalid actually was the one who is responsible to send me out of Malaysia. Yeah, and then alhamdulillah, I come back, yeah, and can meet you again. And I'm honored also with the presence of Professor Aslam. Yeah, so inshallah we'll have a very fruitful discussion, yeah, this morning. Yeah. Yes. So I was in ISTAC as the student of Professor al-Attas for, yeah, about 10 years. So I joined ISTAC in 1993, yeah, and got my PhD over there, yeah, in 2000. And then I was teaching, yeah, until 2003, yeah, before I joined the Faculty of Economics, and management sciences in Gombak for another 5 years. And then I went to Bahrain and so on and so forth. Yeah, so this is actually the perspective of students, yeah, in understanding the idea of his teacher, yeah, Professor al-Attas. Yeah, so that's why the title of this discussion this morning is Islamization of Knowledge, a perspective of al-Attas students. Yeah. Now, when Professor al-Attas talk about, again, it is freezing, it doesn't move. I don't know. Sometimes this, what we call it, yeah, exactly. Okay. Now it is moving. Now, when Professor al-Attas is talking about knowledge, yeah, basically he is talking on knowledge at the level of epistemology, or at the level of philosophy. So that's why probably we can divide, yeah, levels of knowledge into at least 2 broad categories. Yeah, the first one is knowledge in a generic level. Yeah, at the generic level, which is the at the epistemological and the philosophical level, knowledge as such. Yeah, and then knowledge in a specific, yeah, a sense, yeah, which we call discipline or sciences. Yeah. Now, Professor al-Attas basically is talking more on the first level. Yeah, and in fact, his conception of Islamization is directed, yeah, at the first level. But we'll try to connect actually, yeah, between the first level and the second level as well. Now, at the epistemic level, yeah, at the epistemological level, knowledge is not always in line with the worldview of Islam. Why? Because there are a lot of definition of knowledge. One of which, of course, the definition of knowledge according to Islam, according to the worldview of Islam. Yeah. Now, because of there are so many interpretation, definitions, conception of knowledge. Yeah. So we have what we call non-Islamic knowledge, knowledge which is not acceptable, yeah, to Islam. So this is basically the issue, especially from the Muslim point of view. And because of that, yeah, we have, yeah, this idea of Islamization of knowledge, especially the knowledge, yeah, which is by the product of Western civilizations. They call also knowledge, yeah, but this knowledge might not be in line, yeah, with our worldview. Yeah. So the issue is about what is knowledge, what is the nature of knowledge. This is basically the issue at that level. Yeah. For example, let me give you an example. Yeah. There is a particular epistemology, yeah, which is called the sophist epistemology. It's echoing. Yeah. So the sophists, yeah, or sophism, yeah, the sophism is basically a philosophical movement before Socratic period. Yeah, you see, now according to sophism, yeah, knowledge is not possible to be received. Yeah, to the extent that our past scholars, yeah, specifically address, okay, this issue in the book of Aqidah. And this Aqidah called Aqidah an-Nasafi. And the first paragraph, or even the first sentence of those Aqidah is basically pertaining to epistemology. Yeah, so the opening paragraph of this Aqidah said, Qala ahlul haq, haqa'iqul asya thabitatun, wal ilmu biha mutahaqqiqun khilafan li sufastaiyah. Very interesting. Yeah. If we want to translate it into English, haqa'iqul asya thabitatun. The reality of things are basically established. wal ilmu biha mutahaqqikun, and our knowledge on those realities are verified, khilafan li sufastaiyah, which is against, okay, the philosophy of the sophists, which is in contradiction to the sophism. Now you see from here, you can see that, yeah, there is a particular epistemology, which is called sophism, which is in contradiction with the Islamic belief, in contradiction with Islamic worldview. Yeah, we know one of the figures, yeah, of the sophists is Gorgias. Yeah, so if you, for example, just go through the literature, yeah, and try to know about Gorgias, he is a well-known sophist, yeah, who lived 483, yeah, to 375 before Christ, and he has a very important statement. Yeah, he said that nothing exists. Yeah, nothing exists. It means that he is rejecting the existence of the reality. Nothing exists, he said. Even if something exists, nothing can be known about it. Even if something exists, that existence cannot be known. So the knowledge of that existence is not possible, according to this sophist. And even if something can be known about it, knowledge about it cannot be communicated to others. Even if we are able to know it, we cannot communicate, okay, that knowledge. So it means that this knowledge is very particular, very subjective, very individual. There is no common knowledge. This is basically the essence of the sophism. So out of this statement, basically, according to our scholars, there are three schools, even in sophism. The first one is the nihilists, those who reject even the existence of the reality. And then the agnostic, those who reject the possibility of knowledge. Knowledge is not possible. And the subjectivists, who claim that knowledge, there is no common knowledge. Every knowledge is basically individual, subjective, from man's perspective alone. Now, interestingly, Professor al-Attas, yeah, in his book, he said that he made this statement. This statement is very important. He said that Islam affirms the possibility of knowledge. This is basically indirect confrontations, yeah, with the sophist philosophy. Why? Because we affirm the possibility of knowledge. Islam affirms the possibility. It means that knowledge is possible. We are able to know. We are capable to know. You see, from here, you can see there is already an epistemological problem, right? Which is Islamic and non-Islamic. Of course, if we belong to the sophism, this philosophy of knowledge or this particular epistemology is not Islamic. And we cannot accept, from our point of view, from our worldview, we cannot hold, okay, this nihilism, agnosticism, or even subjectivism. So this is from one side. And then we know that we are now living in the domination of Western civilizations, right? We have to acknowledge that we are living under the domination of Western civilizations. Everything is coming from the West, even our own language, for example. Now we are talking in English. This is the sign of the domination of civilization. Normally, when civilization is dominating the world, the linguistic aspect would be dominant. Okay, when Islam was the world leader civilizations, of course, Arabic at that time, and our Malay world, for example, was influenced by the Arabic. Yeah, not less than 1,800 Malay words are actually derived from Arabic, and then our Jawi script And then this Arabic also was influencing Persian language, Urdu language, okay, Turkish language. And this is actually the way how civilization is spread. Now we are living in the Western civilizations. Yeah. Linguistically, economically, our economy, for example, is either capitalism or socialism. These are coming from the West. Our political system are also democracy coming from the West. Our culture, yeah, and more pertinently is basically even our knowledge, our sciences are coming from the West. This is basically the issue. Yeah. Now this what we call the sophism is one of the sources of the epistemology in the West. Yeah. So that's why Professor al-Attas, he said that by Western civilization, when he said that what is Western civilization? He said that this is a statement from Professor al-Attas. By Western civilization, I mean the civilization that has evolved out of the historical fusion of cultures, philosophies, values, and aspiration of ancient Greece and Rome. Their amalgamation, okay, with Judaism and Christianity, and their further development and formation by the Latin, Germanic, Celtic, and Nordic people. So this is basically the reality of the Western civilization. It is a kind of fusion of many elements. Yeah, from the ancient Greece, the Western civilization is basically taking the philosophical and epistemological element, including sophism, being part of the Western civilization. From the Roman, the Western civilization is taking the elements of law, yeah, the government. From Judaism and Christianity, the Western civilization is taking the elements of religious faith. And then from the Latin, Germanic, Celtic, Nordic people, this Western civilization is basically taking the national spirit, nationalism, yeah, and so on and so forth. These are basically the components of what we call Western civilizations. Now, our focus is more on the knowledge aspect, yeah, on the sciences aspect. Now, according to Professor al-Attas, at least there are 5 elements of spirit and character and the personality of Western civilization itself. Yeah. What are those elements? The first one is the element of the rationalism, the element of dualism, element of secularism, element of humanism, and element of tragedy. Yes, the tragedy. Tragedy is basically the conception of life, where they consider life is nothing, life is just accidental, or life even an absurd things. And even our life is like a curse. Yeah, according to, yeah, yes. According to Western civilizations. No, not according to Christianity. No, we are focusing on the knowledge, not the religious. Yeah, the religion is because in the West you have secularism and you have also religion. This is basically part of the secularism aspect, not the religious aspect. Let me finish first, yeah, before we discuss. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, from these 5 elements, now let's see the impacts on the knowledge. Yeah. Let's see the impact. So according to Professor al-Attas, it is these elements that determine for that culture and civilization the molding of its concepts of knowledge and the direction of its purpose, the formulation of its contents, and the systematization of its disseminations, so that the knowledge that is now systematically disseminated through the world is not necessarily true knowledge, yeah, but that which is imbued with the character and personality of Western culture and civilization, and charged with its spirit and geared to its purpose. Now, what we call it, the gist of this statement is basically the knowledge propagated by the Western civilization is not necessarily a true knowledge. It's not necessarily a true knowledge from our worldview, from our point of view. Now, what is the test of the true knowledge? What is actually the true knowledge? Yeah. Please wait. Yeah. I think it's better to finish. Yeah. I know that you are probably you don't agree. No problem. Yeah. Disagreement is fine, but let me finish first. Yeah. Otherwise, it will not stop. Yeah.
The question actually.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So, one aspect of Islamization of knowledge, according to Professor al-Attas, is de-Westernization of knowledge. Yeah, de-Westernization of knowledge. It means that we have to take out those Western elements, rationalism, dualism, secularism, tragedy, humanism. Yeah, this we have to take it out from the knowledge, from the epistemological issue. All right, let me read this. It is this element then that must be identified and separated and isolated from the body of knowledge, so that the knowledge may be distinguished from what is imbued with these elements. For these elements and what is imbued with them do not represent knowledge as such, but they only determine the characteristic form in which knowledge is conceived and evaluated and interpreted in accordance with the purpose aligned to the worldview of Western civilizations. So the challenge is, number one, to identify, to separate, and then to isolate those elements. And this is not easy. How to identify secularism, for example, in that knowledge. Yeah, how to identify the issue of tragedy, for example, in that knowledge. Yeah, so identification is not easy. Separation is not easy. Isolation is not easy. Yeah. Okay, so it follows too that apart from the identification, separation, and isolation of these elements from the body of knowledge, which will no doubt also alter conceptual forms and values and interpretation of some of the content of knowledge as it is now presented, its very purpose and system of deployment and dissemination in institution of learning in the domain of education must need be altered accordingly. Now, this is basically the implication in the educational system. So, this so-called de-Westernization is not an easy task. Why? Because it is a philosophical issue. It is an epistemological issue. Yeah. So this is the first meaning of what we call Islamization of knowledge. We must start from the Westernization of knowledge. We have to understand the nature of knowledge according to the Western civilizations. We have to identify the elements, and then we have to take it out. And this is not easy. Now, Professor al-Attas said that the knowledge disseminated by the Western civilization is not necessarily a true knowledge. It's not necessarily a real knowledge. Now, what is the true knowledge then? What is the nature of the true knowledge? According to him, the test of true knowledge is in man himself. That if man knows about himself, his ultimate destiny, and in thus knowing he achieves happiness, then that knowledge is true knowledge. For such knowledge has fulfilled man's purpose of knowing. So the test of true knowledge is whether if man is given this knowledge, does he know himself? Does he know himself? Ma'rifatun nafs. Please, Dr. Hisham. Yeah. I think, I know that. I think your, what we call it, be patient. Yeah, I just beg you be patient. Yeah, I know that you would disagree. I don't mind. Yeah, but don't disturb. Yeah, don't disturb. If you want the clarification at the end, yeah, we'll give you time, inshallah. So the problem of human identity and destiny is, to my mind, the root cause of all other problems that beset modern society. Now, this is basically the problem. Our knowledge does not lead to what we call it, to understanding of our own identity, who actually we are. Who are we? From where we come, where we go, where we will go. This is basically the problems. This is what we call the ma'rifah. We don't have ma'rifah anymore. We don't know ourselves. We don't know the purpose of our life. We don't know our creator. Even we reject that we have a creator. This is a problem for Muslim, right? This kind of knowledge is problematic for us, right? I don't know if you don't feel the problem. I don't know. Yeah. The more we learn, the more we are far from God, for example, far from religions. Now, to us, this is problematic. So, identity and destiny, what is the purpose of our life? Where we are going after this? We know that there is a death, yeah, but yeah, does knowledge not address the issue of after death, for example? But this is basically a problem. So I venture, according to Prophet al-Attas, to maintain that the greatest challenge that has surreptitiously arisen, yeah, in our age is the challenge of knowledge. Indeed, not against the ignorant, but knowledge, yeah, as conceived and disseminated through the world view by Western civilization. So the issue is not about the ignorant. The issue is about the confusion of knowledge. Yeah. So knowledge, which is what we call it, yeah, which is not real knowledge from the Islamic point of view. So this is basically the issue, yeah, of knowledge at that level, at the level of epistemology, at the level of philosophy. Yeah. Now, our knowledge is now byproduct of civilizations, byproduct of the Western civilization. Now, what are the natures of our knowledge nowadays? According to Prophet al-Attas, yeah, the knowledge which is produced by Western civilizations is knowledge whose nature has become problematic because it has lost its true purpose due to being unjustly conceived, and thus brought about chaos in man's life instead of and rather than peace and justice. We know our worldly situations now, economically, ecologically, right? We have a problem actually. We have a problem of ecology. We have a problem of economy. Yeah, we have a problem of sciences. All right. Number two, knowledge which pretends to be real, but which is productive of confusion and skepticism, which has elevated doubt and conjecture to the scientific rank in methodology. Even skepticism become part of the methodology, part of the knowledge itself. You have to be skeptic, and skepticism forever is considered as a knowledge itself. No, knowledge should lead us to certainty, not skepticism. Skepticism is not knowledge. But unfortunately, in some philosophies, skepticism is considered as a knowledge. Of course, this is like oxymoron. Number three, knowledge which has for the first time in history brought chaos to the three kingdoms of nature. Nature of animal, Yeah, nature of vegetarian and nature of man. Yeah, now of course being discussed in ecology. Yeah, to the extent that even in economics now we are talking about sustainability, circular economy, green economy. This is the result of the conditions. And finally, knowledge which does not lead man to know his identity and destiny. Yeah, we do not know our own self. And they say that we are Homo sapiens. Actually, we are not Homo sapiens. Yeah, of course, some of you might not agree, but insan or man from the Islamic worldview is not Homo sapiens. We are a special creation of God. We are the children of Prophet Adam, and Prophet Adam is not a Homo sapiens. But the scientific so-called discovery said that we are Homo sapiens. So I think we don't agree, okay, with this conception of man. All right. Okay, now, so those are basically the knowledge at that level, at the level of epistemology and at the level of philosophy. Now, let me talk about the knowledge at the level of the discipline. Yeah, at the lower level now. And what is the meaning of Islamization in this case? Yeah, so at the first level, Islamization is more on the de-Westernizations. Yeah, and of course, the introduction of the Islamic conception of knowledge. But at the discipline level, at the sciences level, now you have various names even in Arabic. Sometimes you call it ilm. Sometimes you call it fan or funun. Sometimes you call it sina'ah. Yeah, but at the general level, it is called ulum and ma'rifah at the general level. But at the particular level, at the lower level, our scholars have different terminologies. For example, logic. Let's take one particular discipline. It is called logic. Sometimes in Islam, it is called ilmul mantiq. So they use the word ilmul mantiq. Sometimes they use fannul mantiq. Yeah. Sometimes they use sina'atul mantiq. So the ilm and then fan and then sina'ah, like similar. This is basically at the discipline. Yeah, at the disciplinary level, at the sciences level. Yeah. All right. Now remember, our scholars used to design a nawam about the principle of knowledge. They say that inna mabadi'a kulli ilmin ashara. Yeah, al-haddu wal mawdu'u thumma thamarah wa nisbatuhu wa fadluhu wal wadi' wal ismu wal istimdadu hukm syari'. Ya, masailun wal ba'du bil ba'di iktafa wa mandarul jami'a haza syarafa. So this is more or less. Yeah. But sometimes they say that inna mabadi'a kulli fannin ashara. Sometimes in different texts, instead of ilm, they use fan. Yeah. Why? Because they are talking about disciplinary level, about sciences. Okay, like nahu, economics, political science, or physics. These are knowledge at the disciplinary level, not at the knowledge that we talk about the philosophy and epistemology. So basically, in every science, there are 10 building blocks, 10 aspects. Yeah, the first one is the definitions. Science must have a definitions, al-had, and knowledge or science must have subject matter, al-mawdu, and knowledge or sciences in this case must have a samara, the benefit. What is the benefit of, for example, learning this particular subject? Or economics, for example. Economic has definition, right? Yeah, economic has a subject matter, right? As economic also has a benefit. So that's why we have faculty of economics. Otherwise, if the knowledge is not beneficial, there'll be no faculty. Like sihr, for example, it's not knowledge, right? That's why there is no faculty of sihr. Harry Potter, probably. But there is no university of Harry Potter. It's just yeah, yeah. And then nisbah relations, the relation between one science and another sciences, for example, other sciences. Yeah. Al-Fadl, the significance of this knowledge. Yeah. Al-Wadi, the inventor of this knowledge. Adam Smith is considered as the father of economics, right? Max Weber, okay, the father of sociology, for example. Aristotle is the father of logic. Imam Ash-Shafi'i, for example, the father of usulul fiqh. There is a wadi, there is an inventor in every science. And then the name, of course, the name is very clear: economics, logic, usulul fiqh, nahu, saraf. Like, okay, al-istimdad, the dimension of the knowledge. Yeah. And hukm shari, now this is very important. The legality to learn. Is it permissible to learn this knowledge, to learn this science, like sihr, for example? Or even logic himself. Some of our scholars have a dispute on the logic. Imam Nawawi and Imam Ibn Saleh, for example, prohibit to learn logic. But Imam Ghazali, Imam Suyuti. So there are differences of opinion. Hukm shari'. Now we don't discuss this. What about the hukm shari' of learning economics, or the sociology? We don't discuss anymore this thing. Right? This is the problem. Yeah, we just take this ilm for granted. But from our ulama point of view, learning particular science has a particular hukm shari', the legality, and of course the al-masail, the issue. Yeah, what are issues being discussed in that particular knowledge? Now, let me take out of this 10. Let me take only one aspect, because otherwise we'll be talking until tomorrow probably. Yeah. Let me take one aspect of this 10, a nisbah. Yeah, relation with other sciences. Yeah. Now, in the Islamic traditions, sciences are basically categorized as part of what we call the wisdom, al-hikmah. I want to relate with the economics in this case. Yeah, because my specialization is economics. Yeah. Now, basically, hikmah or wisdom can be divided into two broad categories. Yeah. One is called al-hikmah al-nazariyah. Another one is al-hikmah al-amaliyah. Yeah. What we call it, the theoretical wisdom and the practical wisdom. Now, the theoretical wisdom is pure knowledge, talking about ontology, epistemology. Yeah. This is what we call the hikmah al-nazariyah. Now, hikmah amaliyah, there are three parts of hikmah amaliyah. Yeah. Why? Because this is related to amal. This is related to practice. Yeah. It is more on the management actually. Yeah. This practical aspect is management. So this is the discipline of Professor Khalid. Yeah. Management. Now, what needs to be managed first? According to the maratib, the first one is tadbirun nafsi, the management of the self. Before we manage anything, we have to manage ourselves. This is basically what we call ethics in modern science. You have to know yourself, and you have to be able to manage and govern yourself. If you fail governing yourself, it is a failure in your life, basically. This is the priority. Of course, in order to govern yourself, you have to understand the hikmah nadariyah. You have to understand the knowledge. You have to understand the ma'rifah. You have to understand the purpose of your life. And this is discussed in hikmah nadariyah, or we call so-called philosophy nowadays. All right. So tadbirun nafas. The first one is tadbirun nafas, management of the self or ethics. Number two, tadbirul manzil. Now this is economics. Oikos nomos, right? Economy is derived from the word oikos nomos. Oikos is household. Nomos is knowledge. Management of the household. Tadbirul manzil. And Ibn Sina wrote about tadbirul manzil. Why? Because after managing yourself, you have to manage your family, your spouse, your children, your maid. This is a small community, right? So you must start from managing yourself, and managing your family. Yeah, this is basically the closer society. And then you start managing the Tadbirul Madinah. This is politics. So the sequence is ethics, economics, and politics. Now we are learning economics, for example. But now economy has been separated from ethics, unfortunately. Right? Economy has been separated from ethics. In the beginning, it was political economy, and then moved to economics, and then now to positive economics, following the what's natural sciences. All right. Even before Tadbirun Nafs, we have to connect, okay, with Hikmah Nadhariyah. Of course, in this case, our religious knowledge, our Aqidah, for example. Yeah. Now you can see here, even from one aspect, the nisbah, the relationship. Now, if you are talking about Islamic economics, so this Islamic economic must be related to other sciences. Yeah, to ethics, of course, to tasawwuf, to kalam, to fiqh, to Islamic philosophy. So this is part of the Islamization of knowledge at this particular level, at the disciplinary level. So now I think this is my last, probably my last slide. Yes. So what is meant by Islamization of discipline, especially this 4 aspect probably? Yeah. Let's take economic as a case, as the case, yeah, in this case. Yeah. So the first step is basically to inculcate the worldview of Islam in the mind of Muslim, in the mind of the scholars. Now, the worldview of Islam, of course, is very serious issue. I think the only scholar, yeah, who is focusing his thought and ideas on the world of Islam is Professor Syed Muhammad Naqib al-Attas. Yeah. So I think we have to pay attention, okay, if we want to really do the Islamization, this is the first step. Understanding, okay, the worldview of Islam. And this worldview of Islam basically can be divided into 2 parts. The first part is the what we call it, the metaphysical aspect of the worldview, about the existence, about the reality, about the essence, degrees of existence, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's very long discussion. And number 2 is what we call the fundamental elements of the Islamic worldview, the 9 fundamental elements of the Islamic worldview: the nature of God, the nature of religion, the nature of knowledge, the nature of man, the nature of values. Yeah, these are 9 fundamental elements. So we have to understand, okay, this aspect before we are going into the technicalities. Yeah, this is in fact the first. In fact, here where the de-Westernization will occur in the first step. Yeah, and in the second step, then there is an element of what we call the negations, the negation, de-Westernizations. The nafi aspect. You see, in Islam, in Aqidah, we have nafi and ithbat. There must be a kind of negation, the nafi. La ilaha, and then illallah. La ilaha is basically the nafi. This is the methodology. And then illallah, the affirmations. So there must be a kind of negation. Cannot be integration alone. For example, secularism. Can you integrate secularism with Islam? Can you integrate materialism with Islam? Can you integrate what we call it, sophism with Islam? Can you integrate riba with Islam? So there must be a kind of de-Westernization, yeah, a kind of expulsion, not only integrations. There is a kind of rejection. There must be. Not always integration. Number 2, then integrations. Yes, we integrate some of the aspects which are in line with our worldview. Yeah, some aspect of micro and macroeconomic theories and analysis, for example. Yes. And then the last one is what we call the value additions. In fact, I contributed to this textbook, and the first and second chapter of this Islamic textbook published by Israel is talking about some of this issue. Yeah, value addition. For example, value addition means we make a contribution on the field of the study from our own civilization. For example, like zakah. Zakah is not there in the conventional economics, right? Zakah has its own particular nature. Yeah, social finance, okay, like wakaf, for example. Yeah, and we have certain principle in production, in consumption, in distribution, in exchange. In distribution, for example, we have the principle of kaila yakuna dulatan bainal agniya'i minkum. This is from our own to be added, yeah, to the existing discipline. Yeah. So at this particular, probably Islamization would mean this thing. So I will stop here, and Professor Hisham is not patient enough to rebut my. Please, yeah, I open for discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Dr. Ugi Suharto, for a very lively discussions on the topic of Islamization of human knowledge. As I mentioned to you at ISTAC, we have the series of the talk, and Alhamdulillah, we have learned from Dr. Ugi, because now we are in the second generation. All these toko, Naqib al-Attas, Ismail Raja Faruqi, Prof. Kamal Hassan, all of them, unfortunately, we are missing them. And the one who is still alive, Allah extend their life, and I don't know how long. So it's a time for the second generation to take over this discussion and debates. And I'm happy to say, Alhamdulillah, we start the ball rolling. We have our first lecture today. I mean, not first in the sense of Islamization of knowledge, first on this toko Islamization and people like that. But the good part I learned from today, and de-Westernization, I think quite close to each other. Like Dr. Ugi said, identify, isolate, and separate. And of course, these are all challenge. During the time when I used to listen Prof. Muhammad Kamal Hassan we recited a Fatiha for him because he just recently passed away. Al-Fatiha. Then he used to say that comprehension, critical appraisal, elimination, and the one which he used to add, which I really enjoyed, reconstruction. That's more challenging. First, second, I think we are very good at it. We criticize, and Dr. Hisham is getting restless now, and we will give the floor to him soon, inshallah. But at the same time, I'm quite happy, not 1, 2, 3, 4, dozens of the people are there online virtually. So if you go by democracy, they have the rights to be first. But I think I will take as a moderator of the session an opportunity to open the session basically for those who are present here. They are better privileged to be here, and now I think we will offer them lunch as well. But those who are not here virtually, I'm sorry you couldn't enjoy your lunch virtually as well. Okay. Professor Abdulaziz Barghouth is also, I see, connected. He is in the meeting in in the main campus. So maybe Prof. Abdulaziz, I will give you a chance, the last, to speak later on. So who wants to be here? Dr. Hisham seems to be very restless. Thank you. No, it's okay. You can raise, but try to be, I mean, as an academician, I to be with the etiquettes of respect, etiquettes of agree to disagree. So all kind of thing. I could see there are a few already questions online. Inshallah, I will read it, or I will open for you. You can ask directly from there. So who wants to be first here? Yes, brother. Maybe it's good just the quick introduce yourself. Maybe Dr. Ugi.
I'm Faisal, from a student from ISTAC. I just want some a little bit of description on the terms that you bolded in the previous slide. But I think you've somehow clarified some of it in the later slides concerning the direction of the purpose of knowledge and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Can you be more specific of your question?
Can you turn back the slide?
All right. Oh, it's a gem now. Can the technician help me? Oh yeah, which one?
No, back. Not this one. I think that the one.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
All right.
Yeah. Direction of its purpose, the formulation, systematization. Can you briefly describe?
Well, yeah, actually the bold is mine. Yeah. This statement is coming from al-Attas. The first one is the concept of knowledge. Yeah, because in the beginning, remember I explained about what is considered knowledge. Yeah, different epistemology will consider knowledge differently. Yeah, like sophism, for example, they don't even consider knowledge is possible. Yeah. One of the school, of course, yeah, the agnostic. All right, so this is what we call the concept of knowledge. Or in Western knowledge, for example, okay, the science is considered to be the queen of knowledge. The rest, not really knowledge. What we call ma'rifah is not considered knowledge by Western civilization, right? Yeah, metaphysics. It's not considered knowledge. This is what we call the concept of knowledge. So we have to critically examine, okay, this concept of knowledge. And then the direction of the purpose of knowledge, direction of where actually this knowledge leads us to. Now, of course, the secular knowledge only leading us only to this world, right? They don't consider the metaphysics, right? They don't talk about the happiness there, right? They are talking about here and now, right? Not there and then. Yes, this secularization actually faham ke di sini kinian, right? Di sini and kini. This is what we call the directions, and then the formulation of its content. How this knowledge being formulated, especially the discipline. The content of the discipline, for example. They are talking only about this word, naturalism, especially economic utilitarianism, for example. And then the systematization of its dissemination, the way this knowledge being disseminated, being spread. Yeah. So these are basically part of the educational system, right? This is the implications. So again, this education system would play a role in the process of the Islamizations. So this is actually in brief, yeah.
There is a question online. Salam Prof. Ugi, how can we filter Western knowledge from the Islamic perspectives?
All right, so that's why the challenge is number one, yeah, the identification. At least Professor al-Attas has identified 5 elements of Western knowledge: secularism, dualism, humanism, rationalism, and tragedy. Yeah, we need to discuss, okay, this thing. I know this thing, but we have to understand what is meant by secularism, what is meant by rationalism, what is meant by dualism, what is meant by humanism, what is meant by tragedy. So in the Western knowledge, this aspect or these elements normally are there, although not all together. But yeah, some knowledge, for example, propagating the idea of tragedy, the idea of rationalism, some are secularism. So first we have to identify, and then we have to separate. This is not acceptable to us, this is acceptable to us. Separations. Yeah. So that's why we have to understand, okay, the nature of Western civilization, the nature of the philosophy of the West also, the psychology of the West also, we have to understand. Why? Because the first part of the Islamization is the Westernization. So we have to really know what is the Western civilization. Yes, of course. Some, that's why. Yeah, but well, if you can, fine. Yeah.
You just argue that these are the 5 characteristics.
Yeah.
Therefore, it imbues in everything.
Mm.
And therefore, how can you separate? So you want us to be irrational? You
No,
want
you
us
see,
to now?
Professor Isam, we learn economics, right? Do you think all economics should be debunked? All economics should be thrown away?
Then you have problem with Professor.
according to you, yes. According to
No,
you,
no,
of
no,
course
no.
not.
We have, that's why we have
See,
to identify first. Which one
Identify
are problematic?
How do
Okay.
you're using now? You use
Now,
the
in
word
order to
is all
identify, you have to
rational.
know the subject matter. You have to know the economics.
Look,
right?
first the
If
concept.
you don't understand economics, how come you say this is fine, this is not fine?
I have a degree in accountancy a long time ago.
Accountancy is
I
different from
understand a
economics.
little bit of economics.
Accountancy is different from
Minor in
economics.
economics. So,
Okay.
but
So I think
let me continue. Okay. The question of rationalization, rational. First, the concept of ilm is wrong. Ilm is to know. To know is a verb. To know is to know something. Yes, you are talking about certain type of knowledge, but my shoe size is knowledge. To know what my shoe size is knowledge itself. But well, it may not be significant to you, it's significant to me. Now, on your argument for why certain knowledge is only certain things, and then you are very selective. Western civilization includes Islamic civilization. We are an Abrahamic faith. Right? And therefore we are influenced by Judaism, by Christianity, and Islam is a culmination of both. Now they use this argument as if Western, this concept of tragedy is absurd. I know he was there. I was there when in Chicago when Syed Nakib went to visit the tragedy. He went to see plays on tragedy, and somehow Western civilization now becomes tragedy. I thought the Western civilization is the most advanced and nobody wants to die. So why is it so tragic then?
okay,
So
maybe
I don't mind actually to differ. Yeah, this is basically what we call the school of thought. Yeah, of course, I'm explaining. Yes, of course, it must be rational. At least at the level of rational, we must be agree. But if you say that if for example we belong to sophists, the reality is not there. Do you agree or not? The reality is not there.
Sophist. It's a derogatory. In English language, when people ask you are a sophist, it's derogatory. When we talk about philosophy, people talk about sophistry.
No. Sophistry is different from sophism.
Sophistry.
No. Yes, I agree. The word sophistry is derived from the word sophism, but sophistry is not sophism. And in fact, we have the word sophisticated, right?
Sophisticated something else.
Yeah, no, I mean,
something else.
etymologically,
So-
we are talking about.
You are using a word in the English language. You're misusing the word, and then suddenly say
No,
philosophy represents sophistry.
no. This is
Sophism.
one of the aspects
This
of
is one
Western civilization.
Insignificant.
okay.
No,
So I think maybe we can put both of you on the same table of the lunch, and we inshallah continue there.
Yeah.
Let me have another question.
Yes, please.
Sister Noor Kamaria Abdul Wahid. Sister, would you like to speak directly, or should I read for your question for you? We have lectures. This is the comment and question. I think we have lecturers as lecturers. We have as lecturers done the part of the inculcation of the worldview, negating the sake of de-westernization of the knowledge, integrate and bring in the value of the Islamic knowledge, but then due to lacking of IQ of our Quran and Hadith limits the absorptive capacity that at the end of the day secularization chip in. How are we to go about the challenges of secularism when we as Muslims mostly make ourselves as a consumer to the Sharia law? Very long question. I also got confused. Maybe if you have what she really meant. Sister No Kamaria, are you connected? Can you unmute yourself and speak? Huh? This is the question from chat.
Well, I think probably her question is about the law, right? Okay. So Sharia. No, actually, our issue is not about the law. Yeah, although some of the so-called Islamization of economics, yeah, what you call it, making a law as a particular issue. For example, when we talk about Islamic finance, they are mostly talking about law, about legal issue, halal and haram. Yeah, the economy also, economy Sharia. Yeah, it's not really Islamic. So no, the issue is not about the law. Law is on the practical aspect.
Sorry,
Our issue is more on the philosophical.
now my mic can work.
All right.
Okay. My
So what is your
not-
question? Yeah.
my question is not exactly on talking about compliance to the Sharia law.
Mm.
My question is talking about, yes, we have the initiative of doing all those Islamization of disciplines on the how part, as you mentioned in the presentation. Just that the problem with majority of us is that we make ourselves as consumer. What we consider as good to us, we will consume. What we consider as not good, we try not to take a look into that. So probably that possibly can be the limitation of Islamization of knowledge. That's my idea. So what is your opinion about this? Because different people, the way, just look at our daily life. Some people assume, even though we know that Sharia law is Sharia law, you need to comply it, all right, do or die. But majority of us being Muslim, living in this conventional world, we just like to consume things that benefit us first, all right, before trying to comply to the, that's the sad things that I discovered. So what is your opinion on addressing the Islamization of knowledge with this kind of challenges?
Thank you, Sister No Kamaria. Listen the answer.
Yeah, I think probably you are still talking about the knowledge at the disciplinary level. Yeah, actually, I would rather have interest in discussing knowledge at the first level before we move into the disciplinary level. Why? Because in disciplinary level, we have to understand the discipline itself. Yeah, you have to master the discipline. In economics, for example, you have to master really the conventional economics. Yeah, and then you have to understand Islam as a religion, as a particular religion. Yeah, so at the first level, yeah, the level of worldview, you have to understand metaphysics. That's why worldview, there are two aspects of worldview. One is the metaphysics. Of course, we mean by Islamic metaphysics in this case. What do you mean by Islamic metaphysics? So we have to go back to the explanation of our past scholars. Yeah. Yeah, well, in the past, we have also a different, Ibn Sina, of course, different from Ibn Arabi, for example, different from Ibn Taymiyyah, for example. We know, okay, those things. Yeah. Yeah, we have to, yeah, that's why we have to choose the one which is in line with our Aqidah of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Yeah, in line with our kalam, especially the kalam of Asy'ariyah wal Maturidiyah. If you don't agree, that's fine. Yeah, if you belong to Salafi or belong to philosophers, you're fine. We know the differences of the school of philosophy. But Professor al-Attas is Ghazalian. He is for the Asy'ariyah and Maturidiyah. Yeah, and he is pro Ibn Arabi also. So this is basically his line of thinking. So he reconstruct the metaphysics, yeah, on this basis. Not contradictory. This can be no, it can be reconciled. It can be reconciled. This is basically the issue. If we still think Asy'ariyah and Ibn Arabi are contradiction, there is an issue. But Professor al-Attas is able to reconcile, okay, between these issues. Again, these reconciliations between philosophy, kalam, and metaphysics is very important. Yeah, this is like Imam Ghazali, who tried to synthesize, okay, the fiqh and kalam and philosophy and tasawwuf, did the role of Imam Ghazali. Yeah. This is, again, it's very heavy issue. That's why it's not easy at this level. Yeah, so we have to understand metaphysics, and then we have to understand the 9 fundamental elements, including the understanding of the nature of our religion. Why? Because nowadays they consider the religion as the same, or religion at the transcendent level is the same, for example, is united, for example. So this need to be addressed, this issue. Before, if we fail to address this issue, we cannot do Islamization, because we don't agree at that fundamental level. We must agree first on that fundamental level. If we still do not agree, for example, at that level, we will not be able to do this lower level of so-called Islamizing the discipline. Why? Because our Islam would be different. Our conception of Islam would be different. Then our conception of Islamization would be different. This is basically the issue.
So we have
But
another question here, since you're talking about disciplinary level. We have economics versus non-economics matter in discussion room, but needs to be integrated into practical management, or someone looks like my discipline was. Practical management level as an individual, community, nation, and even international level to achieve maslahah. Brother Afrad, Arifin, can you speak? I read it from the chat room here. Are you connected? Unmute your mic and speak, please.
Yeah, thank you for yeah. Actually, that was my second question regarding the debate, yeah, in the offline room. But if I want to connect the both question, I'm referring to the first question. I'm asking Dr. Ugi about his opinion into a construct called Islamic Global STEM and Social Education, because in the theoretical level, yes, we can debate, we can expand, but in the end, the Western knowledge, the Western science is moving tremendously in the practical level, that Muslim and many Muslim can get benefit sooner rather than in the theoretical and discussion level. So please, Dr. Ugi, please share your opinion about that question. Thank you.
I'm not familiar actually with this term, yeah, to tell you frankly. But as long as the knowledge is still secular, and they don't include metaphysics, then they don't include a spiritual aspect of knowledge. Yeah, this to my understanding is still lacking. Yeah, so knowledge should be geared toward the integration into metaphysics. Yeah, in fact, nowadays science has been separated from philosophy, for example. Yeah, philosophy is not considered as a science anymore. Yeah, so we know this science claim to be the real knowledge. Yeah, so that is basically the issue. If the STEM is trying to integrate metaphysics, yeah, ethics, yeah, ma'rifah, then there is a good direction to us. Otherwise, yeah, we will not agree on that. Yeah, that is actually my comment. If I really understand your question, because I'm not familiar actually with the STEM, to tell you frankly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Thank you, brother.
Professor
for
Aslam,
your
probably you want
comments.
to have something.
And
Professor
now
Aslam?
we would like to go for some invited questions. And Professor Aslam Hanif, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Firstly, thank you very much, Dr. Ugi, for the presentation. at least on a personal level, I think it brings back memories of discussions that that we used to hear quite some time ago, and especially reminding us about the two different levels of discourse. One is at the general level, the worldview, and then at the discipline level. I think certainly in the last 10, 15 years, most of the time has been spent at the discipline level. And it's very simple because I think discussion at the first level is very rare, and not usually in economic faculty. And so a lot of time has been spent in the second level. And I would like to also maybe focus on the second level, and get your inputs on this. I like your last slide was talking about how to operationalize. And I agree with you that certainly the first step must be about the discussion of the foundations of the discipline. And that is why I think as far as IIUM is concerned in the Kuliah, we have insisted on this course that we teach, the foundations of Islamic economics. And it's also very different from what maybe people in other universities refer to when they talk about foundations. They will go straight into macro issues, but we are insisting that the big part of the course is about the worldview, about methodology, epistemology, methodology, and then the system, the framework in which you're working. So I think this is, I will agree with you on that first stage. I think when this last point relates to all of us as researchers and lecturers who want to talk about discipline building. I think it's very, very important discussion for us. And I like the idea that you talk about these two stages, the negation and integration, according to yours. I mean, I would just like to put it this way. In developing our discipline, we have our, let's say, our Turath, and then we have modern economics that has evolved over the centuries. We have to understand the Turath correctly. And I think this is a major challenge, I think, for most people in economics departments, for the simple reason that we are probably not exposed to the entire scholarly works in the Turath. Most of the time, you will have the fiqh dimension, which is, given the big focus. Whereas I think, the other areas of Islamic scholarship also very important. So going back to the point of, was it Kamaria, I think, mentioning about the inability of the scholars to, to be able to present that Islamic input. So you have the Turath and limited access to it. And then, of course, what do you do with modern economics? Because that's what we have, and majority of the scholars who are dealing in economics departments will be coming from that modern. So I would just like to, go on this point again. We come across modern economics, we have to critically evaluate it. And from that, you either accept, you reject or negate, or you modify. That seems to be what are the three options available. And you either accept, you reject, or you modify, right? And maybe this is what you mean by that stage of integration. If you are going to modify, how do you modify? So the challenge is, I think that's where we are really having problems. So we have problem with the quality of people that we have that are comfortable with the Turath and modern economics. And then when you come across the stage where you need to integrate, again, you have that challenge, what exactly to integrate. And I think by creating new breed of scholars who are comfortable in both, I think this is our challenge, right? And actually, this is the point I wanted to ask you. Sorry, it went a bit long. how are we going to create this new breed of scholars looking at the current education system, right? I mean, ISTAC is a good example, of course, of creating scholars who are, let's say, exposed a lot to the Torah. But we also have to have them exposed to modern economics in a much more, let's say, effective way, right? I think sometimes many of us, when we want to talk about modern economics, we sometimes also oversimplify and we don't necessarily represent the understanding of some of these scholars. For example, even Adam Smith, I think a lot of misrepresentation of Adam Smith and what his views were. So this is a big challenge. So how do we do it? At the end of the day, how do we do this?
I think this was a similar question by the Nur Kamaria, the handicap our scholars today. Neither they know the Torah, neither they know the economics. So master of none, jack of all.
Exactly. Yes. Now, Professor al-Attas has a particular conception of knowledge. He said that knowledge can be divided into two types. One is called ilmu fardu ain and ilmu fardu kifayah. Now, economics belong to ilmu fardu kifayah, but the religious knowledge belongs to ilmu fardu ain. We must start from there, not from this fardu kifayah. The problem is in our educational system, we are trained in ilmu fardu kifayah. Our ilmu fardu kifayah is up to the PhD level, but our religious knowledge is up to the school level. So how come you Islamize? This is basically the problem. So actually we have to go back to our conceptual knowledge. That's why I would rather say the economics of Islam rather than Islamic economics. There's a different different meaning. Economics, Islamic economics, as if we have economics and then we try to put Islam within the economics. But when we say the economics of Islam, Islam is the biggest one, and economics, where it is in line with Islam, we accept. Which is just not in line with Islam, of course we reject. So it must start from Islam rather than from the discipline, from the ilmu fardu ain. Yeah, this need, of course, again, educational system, and IIUM was geared to that. Remember, we were the first batch, right, where the fundamental knowledge was really at the core of our course. I still remember when I was undergraduate, I took some courses in Arabic. I took courses like Ulum al-Hadith, Hayatul Ruhiyah fil Islam, Tarikh in Arabic. Yeah. So there must be a scholarship who are comfortable in both sciences. Yeah, in order to do disciplinary Islamizations. Otherwise, but this need again another educational institution. But unfortunately, our IIUM has again separated between the discipline and between fardu kifayah and fardu ain. The markas ilmu teras, which is supposed to be the fardu ain source of knowledge, has been separated again. This is basically the issue.
Yeah, I think we have a
question. It's very small, actually. How is knowing possible when how is knowing possible when rational is not in the circle? And everything starts with actually what? And in other words, is that being rational and being skeptic is part of human nature. And how do you explain that being non-rational and non-skeptic skeptic is actually Islamic?
This is Dr. Nurulan. I think maybe many of our colleagues here, they know, but maybe due to Dr. Ugi, she is our
So we discussed already in the
yeah. So yes, back to you.
If I understand your questions, of course knowledge must lead to certainty, right? Because this is the meaning of knowledge. Certainty, al-yaqin. Yeah, that's why our scholars even divide there is a difference between yaqeen and dhann and shak. Okay, the highest level is al-yaqeen. Although yaqeen itself has many levels. Yeah, I know ilm al-yaqeen, I know yaqeen, haqqul yaqeen, but that belongs to yaqeen. Imam al-Ghazali is not started with skepticism. Imam Ghazali started with the yaqeen, but he moved from the lower level of yaqeen into higher level of yaqeen. We should not say that Imam Ghazali basically a skeptic in the beginning. No, he is not. He is not skeptic. He started from the ilm al-yaqeen, but he's not satisfied with ilm al-yaqeen, and then he moved into ayn al-yaqeen, and then to haqqul yaqeen, where he said that Sufism actually the what you call it, the haqqul yaqeen. Yeah. So knowledge must lead to certainty. So if knowledge, for example, lead to doubt or lead to conjecture, this is not knowledge from the Islamic point of view. That's why we differentiate between al-maqtu or qat'iyat and dhanniyat, right? Dhann is not considered ilm. Qat'i is considered ilm. Or hadal ilm yufidul ilma, means yufidul yaqeen. For example, the solitary hadith ahad or khabar ahad, yufidul dhanna, la yufidul ilma. But hadith mutawatir, for example, yufidul ilma. So there is a kind of discussion in our traditions. Yeah. Yes, I am Shafi'i. Valid doesn't mean maktu. There is a difference between sah and qat'i. Hadith is sahih, but it's not necessarily qat'i. Yes. Not necessarily. Hukum is not necessarily yaqeen. Hukum can be formed on the basis of dhann. Yes. On the basis of dhann. Yes. For example, you have a mahkamah. In a mahkamah, yeah. For example, if this argument is 55%, this argument is 45%. So the hakim will, zon, yes, there is a place of zon. Yeah, no. It doesn't mean zon doesn't mean knowledge. Zon we use, of course. There are a lot of discipline using zon. No, fiqh, for example, is based on zon. Yes, our Sharia, most of the Sharia, even most of the hadith are zonni, epistemologically speaking. Yes, this is the statement. This is the what we call it, the established statement of our scholars. Only hadith mutawatir. You see, you have to distinguish between what is called qat'iyatu subut and dhanniyatu subut. Qat'iyatu dalala and dhanniyatu dalala. We learn this in usul fiqh. Yeah, I know too. I learn usul fiqh. Sometimes, that's why sometimes the zone is called knowledge. Sometimes, but this is not actually knowledge, not up to the level of knowledge. Not contradicting. That's why there are two levels of knowledge. One is at the general level, another one is the particular level, right? Like ilmul mantiq. Sometimes we call it fannul mantiq. Sometimes we call it sina'atul mantiq. Yeah, this is the logic. Yes, logic. This is called in English, we call it logic. Yeah.
Just because it's called different.
Now, within the logic, you have a discussion, right? Not all discussion are certain. Some of the discussion are still conjecture. Even in usul fiqh, for example. Yeah. There are some of discussion of usul fiqh. Even Quran, for example. Dalilul Quran based on dhann. For example, yeah, aulamastumun nisa. Yeah, so this is dhann, right? Dhanniyatul dalalah. So this is not up to the level of qat'i. This is what is meant by our scholars in the past. So we should put things, yeah, on its own place. This is what I mean. Yeah. Well, we know this. Dr. Hisam, I learned also Islamic studies. So don't worry. Yeah, we can discuss philosophically, yeah, usul fiqh or philosophy. I can discuss this, inshallah. Okay, so we have actually a small short question from Dr. Zuljastri. Are you connected?
Can you just put your question directly to Dr. Ugi? I think we are going to come to end. Dr. Zul Jasri. He has a question here. I am of the view integration is very important as it is insufficient. There's a comment coming from him. I don't know whether is it a question or is a comment.
Yes, that's why integration is not enough. That's why. Why? Because in integration, it assumes that something which are opposed to Islam need to be integrated. So this is at least at that level. First of all, secularism. I don't think secularism can be integrated with Islam if we understand the meaning of secularism in a proper sense. Yeah. Sophism, for example. Utilitarianism economics. Can we think that utilitarianism can be integrated? Utilitarian as a philosophy, of course. Atheism can atheism can be integrated with Islam. Atheism. Of course, we cannot.
Dr. Zul, you look like now unmuted. Can you speak?
Yes, Dr. Zul, please.
Yeah, actually, that's what I meant, because I think there are so many things out there which is Western oriented, and yet we are trying to do something Islamic. So it's not sufficient. Dr. Uji, it's not sufficient. How to integrate when so Western are moving so fast, and our Islamic writing and references are still not fast enough to catch up. This is the problem.
Okay, we have another comment coming now. This is the Malaysian style. Initially, they will keep quiet. When the time comes to end, then they will come up with the bombarding the question. We have, can we consider IIUM Sejahtera academic framework cover Islamization of knowledge?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with IIUM.
The feedback here is an unfair question because this is not Sejahtera academic framework lecture. But yes, integration itself is the challenge, and you want to put academic framework of Sejahtera and integrating with Islamization of knowledge, double blow. So idea is maybe we can have it another lecture soon, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. I think brothers and sisters.
Just one very quick comment, because I think this lecture is about Islamization of knowledge and from the perspective of Professor al-Attas. And I mean, I personally am one who has been part of this process for a long time, yeah, and whatever little or advancement that has been made is with the idea of making it succeed. And I just want to share with everybody, because we shouldn't leave feeling, how do I put it, dejected and pessimistic about what has been done. Yeah, but I just want to share with you, in the early 90s, I remember I went to a conference, and at that point in time, people were criticizing Islamization. It's already been 10, 15 years already. Where are the products of your endeavor? And so I remember I asked Professor al-Attas this. People are criticizing, and then he said something which I always quote in every lecture I give. I will end with this statement. Professor al-Attas mentioned that if we do it correctly, Islamization of knowledge, if we do it correctly, it may take up to 2 generations for us to see the results. Okay, this was in the early 90s. Now it's what, almost 30 years, maybe 1 generation already gone. If we do it correctly, and I think our challenge is we are still, we are still experimenting, and maybe when it comes to the ability to understand and to implement, we are still far away. So we may even still say we are 2 generations away, yeah, to seeing the results. So the only way is we have to develop these scholars that are able to articulate, And maybe in this case, just to make Dr. Hisham happy, We need to do what Fazlur Rahman also proposed. We need to create the scholars who have the Quranic minds. I think that's what the way he put it, right? So we need to create those kind of scholars that can actually do this process of developing disciplines from an Islamic perspective. So Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, now you brought the another scholar, Fazlur Rahman. Okay, very good. Actually, that's why I thought that we
from
should
Malaysia,
have the
yes.
people from the stack. Maybe, I think just say your name, Dr. Ali.
My name is Dr. Wan Ali. I'm one of the staff at ISTAC, senior academic fellow. Yeah.
Actually, now a section in the stack now, which is very active, the Malay world. So that Murad and others, they are actually conducting a lot of things there.
Doctor, I would like to relate the lecture with the Malay world, whereby in the Malay world, we have so many manuscripts, which we normally term as local wisdom, the wisdom of the local people. Malay manuscript or even Javanese manuscript, all that, normally people consider as local wisdom. So the term local wisdom explains the wisdom of the local people, sometimes not related directly to Islam. But there is some wisdom in there. For example, maybe correct if I give the example, if we want to travel to far away places, they will say that on Monday or maybe on Friday is a good day to travel. But on the other days, they are not good to travel. So there is something like local belief, local wisdom, but I'm not sure whether they are Islamic wisdom. So how to relate that? Can we consider that when we talk about Islamization, local wisdom can perhaps be partly considered as part of the wisdom of the Muslims, although they are not really so. Same thing like shamanism in the local medicine. They have shamanism, believe in shamanism, the influence of the Hindu and Buddhism. So in shamanism, they will say that if you drink this thing for 7 days, inshallah, you will be fine later. There is local wisdom. How we can integrate local wisdom with Islamization, which sometimes I feel.
Is it your question or comment, Dr. Ali? I think you're adding further. Is it your question or is it just feedback and comments on relevant Islamization?
My question, but I explained about the problem, but the question is how to integrate the local wisdom with Islamization.
Can you just quickly comment? I think we are, alhamdulillah, Dr. Professor Abdulaziz is here. He has been rushing from Popa here for the meeting, and we will give the concluding remarks to him after this. Can you just give a quick comment to Dr. Ali?
Yes. Local wisdom in our language, in Bahasa Indonesia, we call it kearifan lokal. Yeah, kearifan lokal. This is basically our own translation.
Yeah.
And I think probably we can relate this concept in fiqh, in usul fiqh, with the concept of uruf. From the word uruf, we have words al-ma'ruf, for example. Yeah, of course, we have in the concept of al-ma'ruf, it is something acceptable. It has been part of our ma'rifah. It is acceptable. The people know already that this thing to be good, and this can be part of the integration if it is really good. But again, we have to go back to the definition of what is good, what is bad, right? We go back to kalam. For example, in Ash'ari, we have what's a saying, al-hasanu ma hasanahu syara wal qabihu ma qabahahu syara. Good is what is considered good, okay, by the law, by the lawgiver, for example, and then we have again to what we call it, to measure, yeah, whether that local wisdom is really out of sahih, because in fiqh we also, this is out of khati, this is a wrong uruf, this is a right uruf, for example. Yeah, even the Prophet ﷺ is accepting the Arab uruf. In economic, there are a lot of examples. For example, Bai'us Salam. Bai'us Salam was not known in the Meccan society. Prophet Salam only knew Bai'us Salam when he migrated to Medina, and the hadith is very clear. Yeah. Ja'a Rasulullah ila Madinah, ya, wa hum yaslifuna fis salam. Sanatan aw sanatain aw salasa sanawat. Faqala Rasulullah man aslafa minkum, ya, fal yaslif bi kailin ma'lum wa wazanin ma'lum ila ajalin ma'lum. So this Bai'u Salam was part of the culture of the people of Medina, and it was not the culture of what we call it, the Makan people. But since this didn't contradict with the Islamic principle, it is integrated and accepted. So again, but now since Islam is complete already, so we have the foundation, the rules. So again, we have to measure whether this uruf is in line with our religion or not, because not every uruf is in line. That is basically probably the conditions. I don't.
Okay, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, I think we have 45 minutes of lecture and 1 hour plus hours of question and answer session. So thank you very much for your patience, and there is somewhere, somehow we have to stop it. Otherwise, we may miss our Salatul Jummah today. And Dr. Ugi has told me that he has to rush to airport because he's flying off today. Thank you very much for your presence, Dr. Ugi, and giving time to ISTAC. Welcome home again. So you are free to visit anywhere. And his love for ISTAC and Naqib al-Attas, he came straight away, went to Naqib al-Attas library. So I was searching for him. So let us give him a round of applause before Prof. Abdul Aziz will also give the concluding remarks. Okay. So with that, I think I will invite the Dean of the ISTAC, Professor Abdul Aziz Bargood, who luckily managed to come back from main campus to give concluding remarks. Prof, welcome.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Khalid, and thank you to our scholar for accepting our invitation and coming back to your place here. And I was in a meeting, but from time to time I listen to, that's why it's like the work of the jinn, take little from here, little from here. So I'm not sure whether I built or I have a bigger picture of what you present today, but I think it's really great to have you here. And we would like to see you more and more, and other scholars coming into ISTAC here, so that we can revive the intellectual dynamism and discussions, because without those discussions and deferring and adding and removing, we cannot move forward. So this intellectual environment must be enhanced here. In fact, 2 years ago, we, as the new management of ISTAC, we introduced 4 intellectual series of talks and lectures, and we engaged tens of big scholars. One of them is what is Prof. Khaliq leading now. We call it Futures of Integration of Knowledge and Civilizational Development. So here in ISTAC, we are trying to pursue the Islamization and integration, but our approach is more civilizational, multi and transdisciplinary perspective. This is why I think talking today about al-Attas perspective is something great. And I think I saw the people, many great people and scholars followed your lecture today, around 60 people in the Zoom and other people also in the YouTube. I think this shows the importance of this discussion. And we would like to see, I think Prof. Khaliq is preparing next time to get another professor, Prof. Imtiaz Yusuf, will be talking also about Professor Al-Farouqi perspective of the Islamization and integration of knowledge. And we will get all the people who have something to say about the Islamization and integration, especially in our very complicated time. This is why I had many of your great ideas and how you do ta'sil of the ideas and the views. I think that's something very great. I think I had also our great Professor Aslam. Aslam also, we invited him under this distinguished series, and he presented a very beautiful presentation at that time on the history of Islamization in Malaysia here and how it started and so on and so forth. But I think we need to move to, that's why the series is Futures of Islamization. We need to move to a level where the discourse of Islamization and integration should be a paradigm discourse, not like partial, dichotomous and kind of discussions. We need to put things together so that we understand the bigger picture of a very big project like this in the Ummah. I think it's not a matter of 20 years. If you ask me, it's a matter of 1 century maybe to really create the environment, the culture, the mind, the ecosystems where Islamization and integration become in the mainstream. There is a problem with the whole educational system, the whole economic system, even what we brought in Islamic banking and finance and halal, it's just Bismillah, in a very big sea of conventional. The thing is in the core of the Ummah. That's why when Prof. Aslam mentioned about our Professor Ugi, when he talked about Islamic economics or Islam in economics, I remembered when I heard that, when I remember driving, I remembered Malik bin Nabi. Malik bin Nabi is a great scholar, but the way also how we study him and approach him sometimes is not correct. When we wrote about economics, he is a scholar who wrote about the Zahir al-Qur'aniyah, the Quranic phenomenon, to clear up the issue of the worldview. That my worldview is Quran. And then he wrote about this. When he came to talk about, he found that he must talk about iqtisad, about economics, because he knows that economics is the center of the contemporary Western model and paradigm. Collapse economics, everything will collapse because it's all materialistic, it's all positivistic, it's all existential. So he wrote the title of his book, Al-Muslim fi Alam al-Iqtisad. He didn't talk about Islamization of economics or this. The Muslim, how the Muslim works and deals in this world of economics. And you check the book, he talked about the most important things that we are talking today about human resources, about the social equation, المعادلة الاجتماعية, that the culture, the society, that the human mind is the assess of all this change. He talked about worldview as the assess of change. So brothers and sisters, I think the lecture today is great, but we need to, inshallah, in our discourse, I told Prof. Khaliq, maybe you can form a multidisciplinary research team on the integration and Islamization from different perspectives, so that we do research from multi and transdisciplinary how we deal with this educational system or integration. But I agree with the approach of Prof. al-Attas and also what our professor, when he says that the starting point is in the worldview. Because Islam itself has its perspective of the world, of the human, of the economy, of whatever thing. And then comes the building, as Prof. Aslam mentioned, the building of the human. The more we have the right people, the people who are integrated, the people who are the Islamizer, the integrator, the easier is the. But if you don't have, the mainstream is millions, the whole system is mainstream. How many Oran talking about Islamization? Take out Malaysia. Even in the Arab world, it's not like institutionalized and structured like this. You have Islamic banking, Islam. At least you give the model, the hope to the Ummah. Yeah, we can do it. So I think in the spirit of Prof, we thank you very much. That's great. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for this lecture and reward all these people who are here. And in the Zoom, Prof. Khalid, thank you very much. A great job.
Thank you.
And we move forward.
Really
Salam
now, so let us close our majlis with Surah Al-Asr. Okay, so Prof. Abdulaziz, there is something token of normally